like, and make sure to engage in comments and share this video to your friends and story lovers, and click on the subscribe button on the screen to subscribe to Inquisco for more real and true stories like this. I never meant for it to happen. I told myself that 100 times, like somehow repeating it would make it true. But the reality was, I let it happen. I made one bad decision, then another, and then suddenly, I was standing in the wreckage of my own life, wondering how I got there. It started as something small, innocent, even. A lingering glance, a harmless joke, a touch that lasted just a second too long. David, my husband, had been working at the company for years, putting in long hours, chasing promotions that never seemed to come. His boss, Mark, was the kind of man who always got what he wanted, and at some point, without me even realizing it, that included me. I should have shut it down the first time he flirted with me at that company event. I should have ignored the way my heart raced when he pulled me aside at the bar, telling me how stunning I looked. But I didn't. And then, one night, I crossed a line I could never uncross. It wasn't supposed to happen. David was out of town for a conference. Mark had invited me for drinks, saying he wanted to talk about helping David's career. I believed him. At least, I let myself believe him. The drinks kept coming. The conversation drifted, and before I knew it, we were in his hotel room, his hands on my waist, his lips against mine. The damage was already done. I told myself it was a mistake, that I would never see him again. But Mark had other ideas. The messages started coming, first playful, then persistent. And despite everything, a part of me liked the attention. Then, one evening, David came home looking like he'd been hollowed out from the inside. He didn't say a word, just sat at the table staring at his untouched dinner. I felt sick. I knew. David, my voice was barely a whisper. What's wrong? He finally looked at me, his eyes dark with something I couldn't place. Then he spoke, his voice so calm it sent a shiver down my spine. I know, Claire. My breath caught. Know what? His lips twitched into something that wasn't quite a smile. Everything. I felt the blood drain from my face. The room suddenly felt smaller, like the walls were pressing in. I forced out a weak laugh. David, what are you talking about? He didn't blink, didn't flinch, just reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, sliding it across the table toward me. The screen was already lit. My stomach twisted into a tight knot as I glanced down. A picture of me in Mark's hotel room. My breath hitched. It wasn't a compromising photo, but it didn't need to be. The angle, the way Mark's hand lingered on my hip, the way I leaned into him. It was enough. I looked back up, my mouth dry. David, Don't, he cut in, his voice eerily calm. Don't insult me by lying. Panic clawed at my chest. It wasn't. Nothing happened. He let out a slow, humorless chuckle. Nothing? He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. So what? You just happened to stumble into his hotel room for a friendly chat? Late at night, after a few drinks? His eyes darkened. Come on, Claire. Give me some credit. Tears burned in my eyes. I wanted to tell him that I regretted it more than anything, but the way he was looking at me, he hated me. And then he said something that made my blood run cold. He fired me. My breath caught. What? Mark. His jaw clenched, his hands tightening into fists. I walked into work today and got called straight to HR. Corporate restructuring. That's what they called it. His lips curled into a sneer. But we both know what it really was, don't we? I felt like I was sinking. David, He stood up so fast that his chair scraped against the floor. I flinched. I gave years to that company, he seethed, his voice shaking with barely contained rage. I bled for that job, and now because of you, I have nothing. Tears spilled over onto my cheeks. I never meant for this to happen. He let out a sharp breath, shaking his head. Yeah? Well, congratulations, Claire. He grabbed his phone off the table, shoving it back into his pocket. It happened. Then he turned and walked out the door, slamming it behind him. I sat there, numb, staring at the empty space where he'd just been. My mind raced. Where was he going? What was he going to do? I reached for my phone with shaking hands and pulled up Mark's number. My fingers hovered over the screen. Call or don't call? I swallowed hard, my thumb hesitating. Mark was dangerous. I knew that now. But David... Something about the way he had looked at me, the eerie calm in his voice. I wasn't sure which of them scared me more. I barely slept that night. Every creak of the house, every shadow stretching across the walls, sent shivers up my spine. David hadn't come home. His phone went straight to voicemail. I kept checking the windows, expecting, dreading, to see him standing outside in the dark. By morning, I was unraveling. I called Mark. No answer. I tried again. Voicemail. Something was wrong. I paced the kitchen, my pulse hammering in my ears. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe David just needed time to cool off. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Then a knock at the door. Sharp, deliberate. I froze. Slowly, I walked to the front door, my fingers trembling as I unlocked it. I opened it just a crack, then gasped. It was Mark. His suit was wrinkled, his usually slicked back hair a mess, and his face, God, his face. There was a deep, ugly gash along his cheekbone. Blood stained the collar of his shirt. His hands were shaking. I pulled him inside, slamming the door behind him. What the hell happened? He stumbled forward, gripping the counter to steady himself. Your husband. His voice was raw, barely above a whisper. He came after me. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Mark looked up at me, his eyes wild. I mean, he tried to kill me, Claire. I pressed a hand to my mouth. Oh my God. Mark let out a humorless laugh. You think this is funny? He took a step closer. He wasn't just angry, he was calm, cold, like he'd been planning it. My breath hitched, that eerie, quiet rage in David's voice last night. He'd snapped. Mark ran a shaking hand through his hair. I barely got away. He came at me in the parking garage, had a knife. He swallowed hard. I fought him off. But Claire, he wasn't scared. He wanted me to know he wasn't finished. I felt dizzy. Where is he now? Mark shook his head. I don't know. His eyes locked onto mine. But I promise you, he's coming. A chill crawled up my spine. A loud bang echoed from outside. I flinched. Mark's eyes widened. Someone was at the back door. I turned slowly, my pulse hammering in my ears. The kitchen window overlooked the backyard. Dark. Empty. But then, a shadow moved. A figure standing just beyond the glass. My heart stopped. David. He was just standing there, still, motionless, staring right at me. And then, he smiled. A slow, chilling curve of his lips. Mark grabbed my wrist, his grip tight. We need to go. I was frozen. My legs wouldn't move. Outside, David lifted a hand, pressed his palm flat against the glass. It was covered in blood. My breath hitched. Then, the lights went out. The house plunged into darkness. Mark cursed under his breath. He cut the power. I felt a sharp, cold dread settle in my chest. The realization hit me all at once. David didn't just want revenge. He wanted us to be afraid. A sound from the front door, the slow, deliberate turn of the doorknob, and then, click, the lock unlatched. Click on the subscribe button on the screen to subscribe to Inquisco for more real and true stories like this.